Hey guys, today I am sharing 5 tricks busy dads over 40 can use to boost energy without more coffee or energy drinks. So I'm just going to break down some of the things that have worked really well to help me and a lot of the busy dads that I've coached for over the last 25 years to go from stressed out and feeling exhausted all the time on the verge of burnout to feeling energized and clear and just dialed in. So let's get to it. So the first trick to boost your energy is to focus on your gut health. I mean, gut health is such a big thing, and it's something that is not always the first thing that we might be thinking about when we are trying to increase energy. A lot of times our go-to is thinking that we need to exercise more. We need to get in better shape. And yes, exercise is something that can help. But if your gut is not healthy, then it really doesn't matter how much you exercise, or for that matter, how healthy your diet is. Those things will help, but without good gut health, you're still going to struggle with your energy, especially if you're already struggling with low energy. Like, gut health is the priority. We've got to understand that energy does not start in your muscles. So, exercise, yes, it's a good thing to do, but you can't neglect gut health, because that is really where energy begins. It begins in your gut. So if you do not have good gut health, then you're going to struggle to absorb nutrients from the foods that you eat. And if you're not absorbing nutrients very well from the foods that you eat, you're going to suffer from low energy. So we got to do things to optimize gut health, improve digestion. I mean, it's so important. So here's what I recommend. Adding fiber-rich foods is one thing. So, things like berries, things like, adding more vegetables, even fiber supplements can help. With vegetables, if you're like me and you really don't like eating vegetables, then you could get a little bit more strategic. Like, I will get very strategic about adding vegetables into my diet because I really don't like eating them. So, things like stir fries, I'll, load up some vegetables in things like stir fries. They come out really good. I actually love stir fries. Things like soups or stews are good ways to put veggies in. I even put them in like pasta when we make pasta. I don't just put meat and sauce in there. It's like we'll throw things in there like zucchini. We'll throw things in there like onions, and the bell peppers and tomatoes, but just, mushrooms and all that, loading them up with a lot of veggies and not just sprinkling a little, but we'll make it like a lot of them in there. Also, getting creative with like salads. I'll put like broccoli in salads. You can put that in there. You can put things like cauliflower if you like it in there, and a lot of other ways that you can get that in. So just finding ways to get that in. It's, for us guys, we need about 35 to 40 grams of fiber every day. That's like the recommended daily amount, and that's not always an easy task. So, you can also look into things like high fiber tortillas are a great way to go. Like, I'll grab some gluten-free high fiber tortillas and make things like barbecue chicken wraps that are like really good and provide a lot of fiber. So definitely incorporating high fiber foods. Another thing is to get more probiotics in your diet. So things like yogurts, any kind of yogurt for the most part. I would opt for varieties that maybe are a little more in the sugar content, just to be on the safe side. But, most yogurts have a pretty good amount of probiotics in there. You can sprinkle in like apple cider vinegar on your salads, things like that, or you can include fermented foods if you like those kinds of things. Also, though, it's important to limit consumption of processed foods. Now, this isn't to say that you can never eat processed foods. I mean, look, you want to make it enjoyable and not something that you dread doing. This should be something that you feel like you could sustain it for the rest of your life. Like, it shouldn't be something that you really just do not want to do because you're not going to do it any longer than you feel you need to. So, but processed foods, it's not to say you can never eat them, but if you, kind of examine your diet, and if, a good amount of the things that you eat are processed foods, then you really should work on limiting that as much as possible. And occasionally, having some processed food's not going to, be a big deal, but just, keep it to a minimum. And that goes for like alcohol too. Alcohol is one of the biggest things that will damage your gut health if you have too much of it. So, and again, it's like processed foods. Not to say you can never enjoy, having a few drinks here and there, but if you regularly drink alcohol, then it's something that you really want to be strategic about when you have it. Maybe just have it on occasion and keep it to a minimum if you really want to improve your gut health. And then finally, hydration. I can't stress this enough that, you can't rely, it's not enough to rely on thirst as an indicator of when you need to drink water, because by the time you feel thirsty, you're already well dehydrated. So, making sure that for a minimum, a minimum guideline is to get about 50% of your body weight in ounces of water a day. And again, that's a minimum, but I think it's a pretty solid starting point for most guys, especially if you're not getting that much water in your diet. So, start there and then just work on getting to that level. And once you get there and you can be consistent with that, and it's pretty easy for you to get that, then you can start working on adding more. But most guys, and I'll tell you, I can't think of any off the top of my head, and I've been doing this over 25 years, coaching guys, busy guys over 40 who wanted to lose fat, build muscle, get in their best shape, and finding ones that were drinking enough water. I can't think of one off the top of my head. Most of the time, they're walking around constantly dehydrated and don't even realize it. So, water is essential to gut health. I just can't stress it enough. So, enough on that. So, if you are looking to increase your energy, but also maybe you're looking to get into your best shape. Maybe you've got 20 or 30 pounds that you'd like to lose. Summer's right around the corner. We're right on the verge of summer right now as I film this and as I'm speaking. So if this is something you'd like to do, maybe you'd like to build a little bit of muscle. Maybe you'd like to feel more confident with your shirt off. If that's something that you're looking to do, then you should consider joining my free group. If that is something that you're interested in, it's specifically for busy dads over 40, and that's what I help them do. We dive into deeper strategies to help them achieve that. So if you're interested in that, just comment below energy, comment the word energy, and I will send you a link to get you into our free group. All right, strategy number 2 for busy dads over 40 to increase their energy is high energy foods. And this is an important one because this goes along with the first one where a lot of times we're thinking that we need to get in better shape. Well, a lot of times part of doing that means that we've got some weight that we'd like to lose. Maybe we'd like to get a little bit leaner, lose some body fat. But in doing that, a lot of times, a lot of busy dads fall into the trap of thinking that they just need to eat less. I've got to eat less calories. I've got to eat, less carbohydrates, less fat. And again, to an extent, yeah, that might be true to some degree, but it's not just about eating less, it's about eating smarter. So the idea is that you want to be focusing on eating foods that give you stable, lasting energy throughout the day, not just like a temporary spike, where you've got energy for, 1 or 2 hours, like after you drink a few cups of coffee. But then after a couple hours, your energy just goes into the tank. We don't want that. So to have lasting, sustainable energy throughout the day, that's what we want. We want to feel pretty even keel throughout the day. Not, too high, but not too low either. So number one thing to focus on is if you're thinking about how you structure your meals, protein should be the foundation. That's kind of your building block, what you build everything around. So protein, with every meal. That helps to keep your blood sugar levels stable. And then strategically adding a little bit of complex carbohydrates. So you've got things like sweet potatoes or yams or rice, oats, maybe some fruit. Those are things that you can use, but there's too much of this idea that if we need to lose weight or get rid of body fat, that we need to eat less carbs or go no carb or super low carb, or it's kind of like, we vilify carbohydrates, and, that's just not true. The reality is that, if you eat too much of anything, whether it's carbohydrates or protein or fat, you will put on weight and you will get fat, period. So carbohydrates are actually our body's number one preferred source of energy. They're not only energy for our muscles, but it's also energy for our brain. Our brain relies almost exclusively on glucose. So we need to be getting in some good sources of carbohydrates. That doesn't mean that you need to go and just eat as many carbs as you feel like. But again, being strategic and putting some into some of your meals throughout the day is a good idea, and definitely is needed. So we've got protein as the building block. We got some complex carbs sprinkled in, and then we want to add some healthy fats. Again, fat is not evil. Fat is not responsible for heart attacks and strokes like we've been led to believe. That's just not true. I won't get into all of the research on that, but it's safe to say that, healthy fats like olive oils, cold pressed olive oils, avocados and eggs, and with the yolks, yes, even organic butters, like these are good sources of some healthy fats. And fats are very important because they're essential to keep your hormones healthy and to keep your hormones balanced. If you don't have good, healthy, balanced levels of hormones, you can definitely struggle with energy levels. It will put your energy in the tank. So you've got your protein, you've got your complex carbs, you've got some healthy fats, and then just basically, the most obvious things, cut back on like the sugar snacks, cut back on like the fake healthy snacks that, are just kind of loaded with a lot of calories, but not very much, in terms of nutrition. There's not a lot of nutritional value in those things. And then finally, one of the most important things as well is to avoid overly restrictive diets. So again, if you're trying to lose weight, get rid of body fat, get lean for summer, you don't want to be doing anything that's like any kind of diets that are overly restrictive, because, when you overly restrict food, then you are likely to be missing some key nutrients. You might not be getting all the nutrition that you need. Maybe you're not getting all the vitamins and the minerals you need, and that can affect your energy levels as well. All right. So again, if nutrition is one of the things that you struggle with, and you struggle to get lean or to build muscle or to get in your best shape, or you're struggling with your energy levels, really, maybe you should consider joining the free group that I have. Just comment the word energy below. It's for busy dads over 40, just like you, who want to get in their best shape. So comment the word energy below, and I will send you the link and get you hooked up into our group. All right, third strategy for busy dads to boost energy is, and this one is very underrated, and it's walking. And, I've talked a lot about the important kind of benefits of walking from a fat loss standpoint, but not a lot about how walking can also help improve your energy, especially if you are a busy dad over 40. Walking does so much for your body, but it's not just energy for your body, it's energy for your brain. The important thing to understand is that your brain drives your body, right? So again, energy doesn't begin in the muscles, as much as it's important to understand that, your gut is a huge part of where energy comes from, but your brain drives it all. So if you are going through the course of your day and, you're working long hours, or, you're making a lot of decisions, at work, you've got project deadlines and you've got meetings, and on top of that, you've got family responsibilities and things that you're doing. You can absolutely wipe out, the decision-making process in the brain. And as your brain runs low on energy, your body will as well, because your brain drives your body. So we've got to not only keep our energy physically, but mentally as well. The brain drives the body. So, walking is a real interesting thing. Like I said, it's super underrated. And, what it does is it helps to boost blood flow and oxygen like to your body and to your brain. So this is huge because that helps to increase mental clarity and mental sharpness. And it also helps to regulate stress. And I won't get into all the reasons why that happens, but it really does. When you go out for a walk and you're breathing, fresh air, and you're, sun's out and you're getting some sunshine, on you, it really will do a lot to help reduce stress. It also aids in digestion and can help improve sleep as well. So these are huge things if you're thinking about, ways to increase your energy. And then finally, it helps to also improve insulin sensitivity, which is huge because this is basically improving your body's ability to take carbohydrates that you eat and to burn them off as energy rather than store them as fat. So again, big reasons why you want to incorporate walking into your day. Now, I get it. You're a busy dad. You got a lot going on. You may not have like 30 or 60 minutes in your day in one shot to go for a walk. So again, being strategic about it and kind of sneaking walking in throughout your day is a great way to get this in. And a lot of times, like we might even be able to argue that it might be better to get accumulated bouts of walking in throughout the day rather than just one whole get it all in one shot. But anyway, so some ways that you can do that are you can walk for just like 10 or 15 minutes after dinner. Just get like 10 or 15 minutes in there. You can sneak in 5 to 10 minutes in your morning. Consider if you wake up 5 to 10 minutes early in your morning, like it's not going to make a huge difference getting 5 to 10 more minutes of sleep. But getting that little bit of walking in will make a huge difference because it's going to help to increase, like I said, your mental clarity and mental energy. It will help to kind of kickstart your day and get your energy levels up to start your day. So definitely another way you can do it. You can walk while you're taking a call, just start walking while you're doing that and take it outside. There's all kinds of different ways and strategies you can use to get walking in throughout your day. All right. So, and the big thing though with walking is don't overthink it. Just focus on moving. Just get moving. All right. So number 4 and number 5, these are some neurotraining for busy dads is what I call this. Now, if you don't know what neurotraining is, you're wondering what the hell that is, I'll explain what it is. But these are basically very, very highly powerful ways that you can increase your energy, and you can do it really fast because they work on activating or increasing the activation of certain areas of the brain. And, like I said, the brain drives the body, so it can really work well. So one of the things is, I'll give you a couple. One of the neuro drills that we can use is to help reset our visual system. So, about 90% of the information that our brain is processing all day long is visual. So, when you're staring at your computer screen or you're staring at your phone, you're on a tablet, your visual system is getting taxed and drained. And like I said, if about 90% of the information and input that comes into your brain's processing it all the time is visual, and that system gets taxed, your brain gets tired, and then you get tired. So one thing we can do real quickly, and you can do it at home, you can do it at your office in your chair, is eye cupping. So you just cup your hands, put them over your eyes, and you're just basically keeping it dark in there so no light gets in. And you just sit back in your chair and relax, and you'd be amazed. Just doing that for a couple of minutes will reset your visual system so that you get more energy back. And it also helps calm your nervous system as well. So that's one thing. Another thing we could do, we'll focus on more of the respiratory system. So it's a breathing drill. It's a simple high-low breathing drill that we do. And basically it's one hand on your chest, put the other hand on your belly. Again, you can sit back in your chair in the office or at home, and you're just working on taking slow, deep inhale, and you're trying to feel the hand on your belly move, not the hand on your chest. So again, just focusing on that for a couple of minutes, and it just slows your breathing down, which helps to decrease the activity of your sympathetic nervous system. and it increases the activation of your parasympathetic. So our parasympathetic nervous system is kind of the rest and digest one. It's the one that keeps us calm. It's the one that keeps us from being so stressed out and trying to do a million things all the time and always being on the go. Drains our keeps our energy from getting drained. So you'd be surprised that, just a couple of minutes of this can really be a powerful way to snap you out of an energy slump. All right, so here's the bottom line. You don't need more caffeine. You don't need energy drinks. You don't need more willpower, and you don't need to force your way through the midday energy crash in order to have more energy. You just need a smarter system and a better plan that works for you rather than working against you. So if you're a dad over 40, like I said, if you want more energy, you want to feel energized, if you want to lose maybe 20 or 30 pounds, if you want to get lean and you want to build a body that you are confident in and that you're proud of, and you want to do it without sacrificing work, family, or all of your free time in the gym, then, again, drop the word energy in the comments below, and I'll get you into our free group where we dive into strategies like I shared with you today and a whole lot more, and really just support each other in getting fit and energized for life. So you're not too old, you're not too busy, you just need a plan that works for you. So hope that helps. That's all I've got for today. Stay strong, and I'll talk to you soon. And in the meantime, be sure to catch this video.